You're listening to the A Bit From Within podcast with Felicia Marty. And I felt it myself. I felt the no, I felt the sadness, I felt the frustration this year. And I see the downfalls of it. I see the places where it has caused suffering. But then we have to be very conscious of how long we let ourselves be in that place before we start taking action as to what's next. And that is where each of us have a personal responsibility to be very honest with ourselves and what we're actually capable of and what we genuinely need that to look like. And this year, I think, has brought up a lot of those opportunities for us. Hi, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in today to another episode of the A Bit From Within podcast. I'm Felicia, and happy winter solstice to each of you. It is finally the official start of winter in the Northern Hemisphere. Right now, as I'm recording this, it is on the day of the winter solstice, and I thought I would give you just a little peek at what I've been doing kind of more ritualistically in my life to kind of celebrate this time of year. And I have to say that it's all an evolution. It's the mindfulness leading up to this moment and the ability to have a little bit more space and to slow down. I think that has allowed me to carve out the ability to think more about intentions right now. And kind of started last week with the new moon and then knowing we were leading up to today, which is on top of being the winter solstice, also this moment of this great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter together, shining brilliantly like that Bethlehem star, that North Star in the sky, just radiant and beautiful. And it's such a beautiful reminder right now of the light and the darkness, which is honestly a huge pivotal point of this winter solstice, this day where it is the darkest, where the night is the longest, where the day is the shortest, and yet it helps us to appreciate even more the sun on our face, the sun in the sky, the light that we do have, and knowing that the light is coming. Knowing that each day from here, we gain more and more light as we move forward. And so with that comes a lot of symbolism, a lot of ideas that, it is now that we can let go of that which is gone, that which has passed, and be willing to open our hearts to that which will come in its place or which will be born or born again, and come into this beautiful world. So, obviously, I'm not here to tell you how to feel about that. There's a lot of different emotions that are running really high right now. But I have, it's really interesting because last week I was talking to Dave about hey, I really think we need to start thinking about some of our own Christmas traditions. Like what are things that we can do that are just us that we do the same every single year? And I was telling him, I'm like, I don't feel like I have been connected to a lot of traditions. Like over the course of my life, my family, I feel like we've been a part of evolving traditions, or we'll get into something for as short as 2 years or up to, 7 or 8 years, and then it will change. And so I'm wanting to plant some more roots and do things that are a little bit that we can stick with long term. And I don't totally know what that looks like, which is why I was kind of asking for partnership on this. And one thing that we have done every year is the two of us drive around and look at Christmas lights together, which is always really fun. And we'll do that this week. Although I was really hoping to be able to go see Christmas in color at a couple different spots that are doing it here in Colorado. And of course, I feel like I'm always too late. I always drop the ball, and by the time I go to reserve tickets, it's all sold out. I hate that, and I admire those people who are grabbing up all of those spots in advance. Good for you. I hope you're having fun. But I was so sad when I realized that. I'm like, okay, well, I guess none of that is going to be available to us this year, and that's okay. But we were talking about what if we were able to really capitalize on this winter solstice? And Today both of us have taken this week off of, I say this in quotes, like off of work. And by that, I just mean I'm checking less email. I have no sessions going on. I have caught up on all my editing. So the big stuff is able to be put on a rest while I take some time for myself. And then Dave having this week off is just such a blessing as well. And so we both were like, you know what, this is a really big day of celebrating what we want to come into our lives. And so last night we sat down and kind of created a plan of how we wanted today to go. And we were like, okay, let's go and have a little bit of a breakfast date. Let's go get some coffee and let's spend the drive talking about our intentions and what we want and what our goals are, what we're trying to manifest. And really share the heart of our intentions with each other. And then the plan was to carve out about 4 hours of non-work work. So this time I could sit down and record the podcast, and record the guided meditation for this week. For him, he's working on another wedding video right now, so he's got work to do with that project. And then later this afternoon, we'll rejoin, and we're going to carve out space for a yoga class and for meditating together and then journaling. And it's kind of funny because actually we did a little bit of yoga yesterday. I carved out, I created like these little temples for us altars for us with different candles and stones and stuff. It's really fun for me to do that kind of stuff during this time of year, just to get a little bit more ritualistic and have those physical symbols of intentions and just little tokens that help remind you of different components and energies that you're working with. But as we were practicing yoga, like, oh man, it was just, yesterday was a really great day for me. I had, it was just a great fun day. And being able to practice yoga, like, we had our mats set up and the Christmas tree was on and the windows were open, like the blinds were open. So there was like the most gorgeous winter sunset happening as we started practicing. And Dave had set up our hue lights. And so we had like these colorful lights in the room and it just felt so ambient and so magical. And I couldn't help but feel a little overwhelmed with this emotion of like, wow, here I am getting to have this privilege of practicing yoga from my home, in front of this candlelight with my partner. I get to practice yoga with my partner. I know there's a lot of people who wish that their partner were into the same things that they were, and maybe that will never happen. But out of all of the things that the differences that Dave and I have, the one thing I'm just so grateful that we can share together is yoga. And, you know, when I say like, we're going to meditate together, please don't think that there's any air of like holierness or like that I'm above anything else, because we do not meditate together on a regular basis. It's not like a thing that we really do, but we both felt like it was really important to be able to do today because so many people around the world are meditating today on December 21st. And we are with this new movement of Aquarius. And I really do believe that there's going to be a transcendence into so much more. And I think that there's a lot of connection to this 11th house, which is all about humanity. It's all about the bigger social construct. And so there's a lot of hope for me in the systems changing to benefit those who are being, what's the right word? Failed by the systems and failed by our society. And so I am so hopeful for what can come, and especially from all of the people around the world who are feeling this same responsibility and same heartache for the injustice that's that is going around, and also for all of those who are having these real moments of gratitude for the things that are going right in their lives. And I think that the more that we can take care of ourselves, the more ability we have to take care of other people if we are conscious enough to do so. So, that's kind of where this day is at for me. And I'm just, it feels like a huge weight off my shoulders to feel like I'm in a place where I can be thinking, that I have the mental space to be thinking about what I want to create and intend for. So you guys, I know I shared a little bit of astrology in this previous part here, but for today's astro segment, I thought we could talk about how suddenly Sagittarius, Sun in Sagittarius, is now over. I feel like that 30 days just flew by. I'm surprised that we've already passed through it. And here we are today on the winter solstice. The sun is moving into Capricorn. Now, Capricorn is interesting, and it's so perfectly fitting for this time of year, for this start of winter, because Capricorn can be known for being a little bit more serious. It is an earth sign. It is a sign that is associated with ambition, and it tends to be very focused on succeeding, on doing things the right way, on what is excellence. And it is also very focused on achievement. So a lot of people that have a lot of Capricorn in their charts are people that are very capable of achieving. And it's interesting because, obviously we are all born on only one day, and we all have a different sun sign. We all have a different rising sign. We all have Capricorn somewhere in our charts. Sometimes we have a planet in there or a sign in it, but sometimes we don't, but that energy is still active in our chart. And we all move through these different periods equally, right? 12 different signs a year. And what's interesting about Capricorn is it has this energy that we can all relate to of around New Year's, we start really thinking about what is it that we're going to achieve. We get laser focused. We start committing, going through the steps, moving higher and higher towards our goals. And then usually it's somewhere, 3 weeks after the first of the year. People always say the gym is full for the first 3 weeks of the year. And then people start dying off. And not dying off, but dying off going to the gym. Word choice, Felicia. But isn't that interesting that 3 weeks after the start of the year is when the sun moves from Capricorn into Aquarius, which is quite a different deviation from Capricorn energy. And those who are very connected to that Capricorn energy, you can really use that to achieve new heights in your own life, and to be very focused and to contemplate the lessons that you learned the previous year and put them into application for the year ahead. So all you earth signs out there and all of you people who love this time of year, tap into that Capricorn energy. Here we go. We have another 30 days of this sun in Capricorn. And it is interesting. It shouldn't feel too unfamiliar because we did just have the last, 2.5 years of Saturn in Capricorn. So we've been having quite a bit of Capricorn energy over the past couple years. It's been very, very prominent in a way that it's not always. So it probably won't feel too unfamiliar right now as we move into this next season. And that's it for the astro segment today. I figure with that and this great conjunction and knowing that we're getting ready for Christmas season, and the week after that we'll have a beautiful full moon, and there will be plenty to discuss next week. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll jump into other things. Okay, so I have a story for you guys. Last week, Dave and I were driving home from Target, He had wanted to grab a frozen pizza, and I was going to stop by Chipotle for myself for dinner because we both had like a really crazy week leading up to this point and didn't want to cook. And so we're like, yeah, let's go ahead and just do that. He could eat frozen pizza every single day, or any kind of pizza. It doesn't have to be frozen. It could be any kind of pizza, literally every single day. And I cannot eat that much pizza. Pizza is not, it's so funny because he and I, when it comes to food, we both like different things. He loves pizza and pasta and steak and potatoes and things like that. And I love Mexican food and, what else do I love? I guess I really love Mexican food. We just have different tastes. I mean, we obviously can meet up on a lot of different areas, but when it comes to those like everyday kind of things, we're a little different. So anyway, we're driving down the street and he was so excited because he had found this Pokemon box. I honestly couldn't tell you the name of it. I think it was like Voltage something. Anyway, he was so excited because every time I go to Target, he looks and there's been literally nothing for months and months and months and months. Like, actually, honestly, I can't remember the last time he found something that he really wanted and loved. And I'm very proud of him because he let me wrap it up for him and put it under our tree instead of diving right into it, which is what I know he wanted to do. But so we were both kind of excited about that. And he was just telling me how excited he was about that. And so we're driving down the street and then like we hear this like, and I was kind of like, oh no, what was that? And I was looking, I didn't see anything on the road. I mean, we were driving down a pretty busy street and there was nothing in the way. Of course, I have had this happen before where I've been driving and hear a huge like thud. And that time, I had accidentally hit a raccoon and it made major damage to my car. And that sucked. So I was a little afraid of something like that, but we didn't see anything. It was dark out. And then suddenly a new light comes on in my car, like a new light that I've never seen before, like on the dashboard. I'm like, oh no, this is not good. And immediately I start filling up with this feeling like I'm just going to start crying because I had already been feeling so emotional about my car because so let's see here. My car is a 2009, so it's 11 years old now. I bought it in 2001. It had only been, it was a used car, but it had been previously owned by like a rental place, so it didn't have that many miles on it. It was in great shape. And this car has been the best vehicle ever. Like every time I purchase something big, my biggest intention with it is like, please let the bones be good. Like that is what I always want to manifest, good bones. And this car has been so good to me. The most stressful thing about the car is how often I have to get the tires replaced. That has been pretty much it. Like we've gone through 100,000 mile checks, 70, I mean like all of these, and it's just been so, so good. But this year, it's been a little bit more expensive. Had to have the brakes fixed earlier this year. And then literally not even 2 weeks ago, I brought it in for an oil change. And they were like, you need your sealing something ring re-sealed or whatever. And so that ended up being so expensive. It was like over $1,000 and that was unexpected. And, but I'm like thinking like, you got to invest in this car. Like this is your car. It does not have a car payment right now. It is a great car. Yeah. So anyway, I had already been feeling heightened about the vehicle because right after we got it back from the shop after this very expensive repair, it had the air pressure light was flashing. And so, of course, Dave and I have this little thing about it because when I feel like I take on a lot of things in general, like I'm pretty much a trailblazer. I put a lot of responsibility on my own shoulders. I tackle a lot of the stuff, the big stuff. And there are certain things that I find myself in my relationship with Dave feeling like you should be taking care of some stuff. Like you like, and this is one of those things. And unfortunately I tend to do that a little bit more Instead of us like agreeing on it all ahead of time, it's more just like, my cup has overflown and now I need you to take care of the car because I have no capacity for this. And it's probably not totally fair. But anyway, that's how I was feeling. I was like, can you please call the dealership and find out if this is because of something that they did? So anyway, long story short, we go back and forth on this. I end up calling the person I had worked with, and he was like, oh no, that usually starts to happen when like the battery of your air pressure sensor is starting to go out and it needs to be replaced. And if you want, you could bring it in and have us replace that, but it's a really expensive repair. And I'm like, oh God, I just want to deal with that. So anyway, that light is on. Now we're driving down the road. This huge noise happens. A new light comes on, and then another light comes on, and then the check engine light comes on. And at this point, I am just like crying, like tears rolling down my face. We pull into the Chipotle park. We pull into the Chipotle parking lot, and I am like, this is not good. So Dave gets out and he's like, yeah, there's a belt that's not attached anymore down here under your car. So we have to call AAA to have us towed. And anyway, next day, find out that it's going to be another $1,000 worth of work to get my car fixed. Not just the belt, but there's some other stuff happening with it that this new mechanic was able to give it a really good look at. And I found myself that night feeling I went through a roller coaster of emotions. At first, I was just freaking pissed, and I couldn't believe that this was happening to the car right now. Like, at that point, I was like, this car has been back for like a week from the shop. Are you kidding me that something like this is happening? And then I had to get to this place where it was like, okay, Felicia, like, what kind of mentality are you going to have? Because right now, if the words that I chose were, we can't afford this, this car is a piece of shit, I hate this car, that would be one particular kind of energy that would probably continue to manifest that kind of things and put me in a place of a lot of fear and panic and not in a good place, right? But I've been really, really working on my word choice. And so what I found myself doing was like, okay, this is your time that you have to practice what your mentality is going to be. If you're going to have an abundant, secure mentality, or if you're going to have a lack mentality. And so I was like, you know what? How lucky are we that we made it to a parking lot safely? We were relatively close to home that Dave was able to take an Uber 6 minutes to our house, grab our other vehicle, come back and bring me and Brad to the mechanic so we could drop off the other car that was on the tow truck. Thank God we have AAA that we didn't have to pay for a tow. Thank God that the tow truck he came within like 25 minutes. Like how lucky that was. And just trying to be in this place of like, okay, if this is happening, like if we need to continue to invest in this car right now, like honestly, I am just so grateful for my car. My car has been so good to me for over 10, like for about 10 years. It'll be 10 years in January that I've had this car. It has seen me through so much. My car and I have been through so much together, especially so much body work, just from a lot of random things that happened those first 5 years that I had it. But it has been a stable, steady vehicle in my life. And honestly, yes, this has been an expensive year for this car. It's probably been like $2,600 over the course of this year that we've had to invest in it. But over the course of the life of the vehicle, that's nothing. And I know that a lot of people spend a lot more than that on their vehicles. And sometimes they're newer vehicles and sometimes they're more expensive repairs. And honestly, like if this gets us through to be able to have this car and maintain this car without a car payment, then it's well worth it. And, with money, it can be so hard to stay in that abundant mentality instead of a lacking mentality, because honestly, like, it can be a little scary depending on, it's been a rough year, right? Like coronavirus, losing money with the business. But where I try to stay in a place of is like, okay, like this is how money works. Okay. Money goes in and money goes out. Money goes out and money comes back in. And so I don't need to focus right now on where are we going to get this money. What I need to stay focused on is being in a place of trust that we're always going to have enough, that we are going to be able to pay for this repair, that it's going to be well worth, the investment, and that the mechanic that we are choosing to give our money to, that it's going to benefit those people who are working hard for a living, doing what they hopefully love to do, and that's going to continue to be into the world. And as the money goes out, the money comes back in, people choosing to invest into our business and having trust in us to give them a great service as well. So it's been on my mind a lot lately, and this car thing is just felt like a perfect like life lesson. And I've been trying to stay in this place, honestly, especially around the holidays, and especially as, we get to tackle our finances in a different way as we move towards 2021, and trying to really be in a place where I'm okay with receiving more. Now, another kind of interesting story that I feel is related, I'm going to see if I can explain the connection. It may not happen, you guys. You may be like, why is she bringing this up? Sorry if that's how you feel. But when it comes to money, I tend to be a little bit more of the having to rein in the money. And Dave is much more of like, once he gets his idea on something, like he wants to spend the money. And so a couple of weeks ago, he was like, hey, how much are we spending on each other for Christmas? Because what I want to get you is kind of pricey. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And what are you thinking? And when he told me, I was like, I don't think there's anything that I could possibly want that's in that price range. And he's like, what if I show you? And I'm like, okay, yeah, go ahead and show me that. I get the veto power here to say yes or no. And it is this gorgeous ring from my favorite jewelry designer. And I couldn't help but say yes. And now I'm having this vague deja vu that I've already told this story on the podcast in the past couple of weeks. So if you've heard this story twice, I apologize. But the story continues. So I end up being like, yes, okay, we got to do it. Let's go ahead. And we've been calling it the ring before the ring, because everyone wonders, like, when are you guys going to get engaged? And as I mentioned last week, it's definitely something that he and I both want, but it's something that we're both working towards. And, I was telling my girlfriends about this last night, and I think for a lot of people, it creates this feeling of like, well, why do you have this ring? Or like, why is it not a promise ring? Or why not just get engaged or whatever? If you guys want that, why not do that? And one, I'm trying to get to a place where I don't feel like I need to explain that to anybody who doesn't get it. It's just like, it's what we want to do. So back off a little bit. But also and I've said this before, I am more slow moving than I put my facade on. I like to act like I'm fast moving, and I like to get these big ideas and feel like I can get them, but I'm a much slower processor, and it takes me a little while. And so this weekend, Dave went and picked up the ring, and he let me try it on when he got it home, because we were both so excited that it's still wrapped. I'm still going to unwrap it on Christmas. I can't have it or wear it until Christmas. But I did want to see it. And I immediately, when I put it on, I honestly went into a little bit of a place of resistance. I love it. I think it's amazing. We need to get it resized a little bit better because I kind of overestimated how big my ring finger is. It's on my right hand, not my left hand. But I think the resistance that I was feeling was just like, wow, this is a nice piece of jewelry, and it's much taller than I thought from the pictures, and it's so beautiful, and it just made me feel nervous. It made me feel like I wasn't trustworthy to have it or to carry it, like afraid that I was going to damage it, afraid of not knowing how to take care of it. And as I reflected on this later, after we put it back under the tree, I realized that I needed the ring before the ring, that I needed this moment to wrap my head around being the kind of woman who has a beautiful ring, who has a golden ring on her finger, that has this beautiful moonstone, that is able to take care of it, and is worthy of having that. And it's so funny because, you know, that was Dave's whole thing to me was, I want you to have this as knowing that you are deserving of nice things, knowing that you don't have to just wear cheap jewelry or whatever, but that you are worthy of having nice things that can even be passed down one day. And that meant so much to me, and it did hit me, but it didn't hit me the same way until I had the ring in my hand and I had that feeling of unworthiness that I had to realize, I'm like, okay, it's time for me to open myself up into receiving this. And it's so funny how we have these things inside of us, like this system of gates, right? It's like these system of gates that are open and closed, and we don't even consciously know which ones we have down or up or why. I mean, if we think about it, obviously we can probably trace it back to most things started in our childhood, or we've learned from our parents, or we've learned as protection over the years. But somewhere along the way, I really just didn't feel like I was worth a nice ring, or felt like, and maybe in some ways I am still in my, 30s, early 30s, trying to believe that I am worthy of marrying, and that's a very vulnerable thing to share because, of course, I'm a wedding photographer. I see people step through this threshold all the time, and I see people who are so in love and so ready to commit to each other. And I would, without question, marry Dave right now because I know how committed I am to him and to our relationship, and how much I believe and feel safe in our relationship and where we're going and in his love for me. But there is still parts of me that have been, just really struggled with that feeling of deserving love and being able to be that person for somebody and be more than I know that I'm enough, but sometimes I'm still learning it. It's like certain gates have opened up and that those ones are clear, but there's still ones that are shut that I don't even know about until I'm faced with it. So I guess how this all connects, talking about these unexpected repairs, and then also this unexpected resistance around a gift, around this beautiful gift. It just shows you life is going to give you these moments that are lessons, that are opportunities to examine your own thoughts, your own ability to land inside of each moment. And this year has given us a lot of opportunity to be aware of how we feel and what we think and where we are in the context of our life and our homes and our friendships and our jobs, in our society, inside of our cultures. And it's been a tough one. I was chatting with a friend earlier, and we're kind of a part of a bigger friend group it's been a really important group of women in my life. And we've been meeting up on like these Zoom girl nights dates for, well, probably since the start of the pandemic. And it's interesting because this is the year that we've connected most through digital technology. When before, for many years, we'd only meet up actually in person like once a year. And, we'd stay in touch either via text or, we'd text each other personally, but we wouldn't always get together. And so for a long time, I've been thinking about like, oh my gosh, this is amazing that this year has given us this deeper connection to each other. But then after a recent conversation last night, I was thinking about how in some ways the Zoom technology has also pushed us further away from each other. And not just the technology, but even the polarization of what is happening inside of our world. And this idea that, you have to choose sides. And if you are even slightly towards this way, then you are a bad person. And then, so if you are, going to get together with your family for Christmas, then you are selfish. Or so then you find yourself not wanting to admit what you're doing, or you're feeling that judgment. And I can see certain people within the group, kind of holding back or afraid to, or phrasing things in a certain way. And I was thinking like how much Zoom does not help with this, because there's certain things that there's certain things that cannot go well over Zoom that you can have in person. So let's say we have a group of 5 girlfriends and we're all together in person. Well, 2 people sitting next to each other can have their own private conversation while the other 3 are chatting about something different. And if you don't want to be inside of that deep and heavy government talk, then you can talk about your kids, or you can talk about your life or whatever, and you don't have to be so unplugged into that. But over Zoom, everybody has to be a part of the same conversation. And I think especially when you're trying to manage multiple perspectives and you have some people who are a little bit more soft-spoken and other people who are very outspoken, it can just be a little bit more difficult. And I've been thinking about that this week, especially in regard to this idea of, these lessons that we're navigating. Because more than ever, I feel like this year has shown in some ways how we are very different from other people. And it's very easy to focus on that and feel the separation and feel the weight of the no. No, you can't be in person. No, you can't see each other. No, you can't move forward with your plans. No, you can't go to concerts. No, it feels like so much of what gives people joy and connection is being taken away. But it's goes back to what I was saying at the beginning about the car. While that can all be true, I'm not trying to invalidate any of that because I think it's very true. And I felt it myself. I felt the no, I felt the sadness, I felt the frustration this year. And I see the downfalls of it. I see the places where it has caused suffering. And it makes me mad and it makes me sad. I also believe in looking at the other side of the coin. And I mean that genuinely. I don't want to say the bright side, because I know there's a lot of people right now who are going to start talking about how successful they've been this year and all of the amazing lessons they've learned and how much they've gained. And that might be really freaking triggering for some people because they feel like, wow, way to gloss over all of the shit that has happened this year. And so I want it to be very clear that that is not what I'm trying to do right now. But what I do think is important that we have the same amount of onus for the areas of our life that have created expansion. And if all this year has done is carved out space for us to have to be more plugged into our feelings and more aware of that because we're not as distracted by the outside stuff, then I think that there is a lesson learned there, for good or bad. I'm not going to sit here and call it a blessing if you don't want to call it a blessing. I think for me in my own life, it's like I shared about last week, there's a lot of things that I am looking to in my life this year that have been very positive, that have been big breakthroughs, that have been big leaps forward, that have been moments in me learning what it means to trust in myself and in my connection to divine supply. And my own spirituality has deepened this year. My own connection to friends, my own clarity around who I want to be and who I want to show up as, that has all become more clear for me. And I am grateful for that. And I would hope that I would have gained that without the pandemic, but I'll never know because it is what it is, right? It's like going back to the car. They were saying, well, the reason this, because what I was feeling is, why did this freaking happen right now? And they said, well, usually when we have the repair that you had done, we also replace the belts because they just kind of go together, and they could have put the belt on too tight during that repair, which caused it to snap. And so I could sit here and stay focused on that and say, why didn't that happen? Why didn't they take care of it the right way the first time? Or instead I can just say, I will never know if that is what caused it. It is what it is. I have this now, and now I have to accept what I have and move forward. And I do think we all get a little grace period to have our moment of why and frustration, and to have the big initial emotions that come up with anything that we experience. But then we have to be very conscious of how long we let ourselves be in that place before we start taking action as to what's next, and before we start choosing how we're going to begin to move forward. And that is where each of us have a personal responsibility to be very honest with ourselves and what we're actually capable of and what we genuinely need that to look like. And this year, I think, has brought up a lot of those opportunities for us. So it's interesting because I find myself, here, I've never had a time where before Christmas I'd been more focused on reflections of this year. And maybe it's partially because I'm ready to say goodbye to 2020. Who's with me? Maybe it's, like I said, maybe it's just how everything fell this year. We won't know. But I am sitting here very excited for this winter solstice and for the coming light of the days to come. And I'm excited for 2021. I am ready to create more in 2021. I'm ready to unveil some new projects and new ideas and expansion. And I'm ready to connect with all of you. So a couple big things I'm hoping to start doing next year is have some more guests on. And then I would love it if you guys have anything in particular that you feel you'd like to hear me share about. I know a while ago I had a request to share some of my favorite books, so that's definitely on the list, I promise. But I'm always open to the conversation with you guys. So I am on Instagram. If you guys are on Instagram, you can look up A Bit From Within, at A Bit From Within, and all one word. And would love to have any kind of conversations with any of you and connect with a bit of what's happening for you. We do have the Patreon page. This week, the guided meditation is going to be a bit of a yoga nidra. So a little bit more of a place where you can sleep into that very deep state of relaxation. So if you're interested in that, you can always join the Patreon for that level that gets the guided meditations and all of the guides. If you're interested in yoga, I'm doing new yoga classes each and every week that drops in the body level. And, if you guys ever want to do a personalized astrology reading, I'm not at a place where I feel confident calling myself an astrologer, but I do know a lot about it, and I'd be happy to share that information with you, whatever I can glean. So yeah, that's kind of what's happening there. Be sure to, if you guys have a moment, if you want to help support me and give back to me, if you want to give me a Christmas gift this season, either tell somebody you know about the podcast or make a social media post saying why you love listening and tuning in, or just give a rate and review on whatever platform that you listen to this on. It would mean the world to me, and you'd be helping out a small business owner, you know? And if there's anything I can do for you guys, please let me know. All right, you guys. Well, until next time, have a very wonderful and Merry Christmas. Enjoy this new Capricorn season, and I will talk to you next week.